Good day. I'm honored and privileged to be able to share with you today my presentation, which outlines the work of a small NPO which adopts a holistic approach to improving animal welfare and changing people's attitudes towards their dogs. The traditional approach to animal welfare and dog population management in Africa is to promote sterilization and rabies vaccination campaigns, together with some basic health care, often for limited periods, and with little education to promote fundamental change. Our model challenges traditional approach to canine welfare, as we believe that unless the relationship between dog and owner changes, there is little chance that there will be ongoing improvement to the dog population problem. Fundanenja loosely translates from isiZulu to mean learning with a dog. Fundanenja takes place in a township called Mpopomeni in KwaZulu-Natal Midlands on the eastern side of South Africa. It's a semi-rural African township with a population of about 40,000 people. The township itself has very basic services, and the nearest town is about 14 kilometers away. The township shares many of the social issues experienced across South Africa. 74% of the community receive social grants. There's a very high unemployment rate, and the impoverished community has a high crime and violence levels, with animals being at the bottom of people's priorities. Fundanenja began as a short-term project in 2009 with the aim of teaching humane dog handling, canine welfare, and respect and compassion for all animals. The initiative was met with such enthusiasm that it had developed into a long-term project that over time has evolved into one that takes a holistic approach with a one welfare, one health approach. And the heart of our project is a dog school. And every week on a Friday afternoon, we have approximately 90 to 100 kids arriving at the gates of our venue with their dogs. And this is our portal into the community. We divide those children into 9 dog training classes. The average age of the participant is 11 and a half, and they are primarily boys. It appears to be a cultural norm that boys deal with dogs, but we are delighted that in the latter years we are seeing more and more girls. We use force-free training methods. All behaviors are taught with positive reinforcements in the form of treats, and the children are taught how to teach their dogs simple behaviors like sit, down, come, simple tricks like rollover, and agility. So all the classes are taught by past program participants, young men, young teenagers, who share the knowledge that they've acquired during their participation in the program. So it's basically peer-to-peer learning. They themselves, the instructors, are learning valuable life skills such as responsibility, leadership skills, punctuality, and the importance of giving back to their community. Rabies is a threat where we work, so all our staff and our volunteers working in the program are inoculated with the pre-exposure vaccine, and we have a very strong animal welfare program. We have a weekly primary veterinary care clinic run by a trained veterinary nurse who supervises rabies inoculations. We're very lucky to have our local state vet support us with vaccines. All dogs are dewormed, and minor wounds and ailments are treated. What we've noticed is that as the facility has become more and more well known to the broader community, that we are now attracting people who are not actually registered on the program seeking out our assistance. Right, those are just some stats from 2018, just to give you some idea of what we've managed to cover. You might notice that we've only managed to sterilize 99 dogs. That has been a bit of a disappointment for us, but the primary reason for that is that we have no vehicle of our own. We have to rely on the use of our staff and volunteers' private vehicles. And as somebody previously mentioned, we find that very often the local community are a little bit lax about bringing their dogs to us. So we actually have to go and fetch the dogs in order to get them vaccinated. We rely on our local SPCA to assist us. They help us primarily with our sterilization program. Every single dog that enters the program has to be sterilized. The owners have to agree to that, and the SPCA assists us with that. They also help us with serious veterinary cases, which cannot be attended to at the primary veterinary care clinic. And because they've got the legal clout, the SPCA also deals with cruelty and neglect cases. We have a strong education program. Education is the key to change. We have a full-time education officer who does dog school presentations. So at our weekly dog school, they will be giving presentations, and in the holidays we also have workshops which are open up to children who are not actually in the program as well. They will be covering topics such as rabies awareness, safety around dogs so that we minimize bites, and just generally the 5 freedoms relating to animal welfare. One of the things that makes our model really unique is that we have home visits. And by that I mean every child that enters the program receives a home visit by our education animal welfare officer and a social worker, where our staff will explain to the elders in the family exactly what Fundinenja aims to do, what services we provide. At the same time, our animal welfare staff member will be assessing the basic needs of dogs, advising and educating where necessary, talking about the importance of sterilization and explaining that it's a prerequisite for the dog that's attending Fundinenja to be sterilized if the child is going to continue on the program. And where incidents of neglect or cruelty are identified, advice is given, warnings are given, and a follow-up visit is done. And if we find that a situation has not improved, then that's reported to the SPCA. And at the same time, our social worker will be addressing or identifying social welfare needs. Because very early on in our program, we came to realize that we could not expect the children to look after their dogs if their needs were not being addressed as well. And so we have, there's just to show you just some of the signs that we will see on the home visits. Dogs with inadequate shelter. We actually do supply kennels for a nominal fee. And it always makes our hearts warm when we see dogs living a more comfortable life. But our social worker heads our family support program, and the kind of social services that we provide are life skill workshops for the children themselves. We also have workshops for children who actually haven't got a dog, because we often have, most families only have one dog. And most families have more than one child. So the lucky child comes to the dog school, and we often have lots of extra little hanger-oners who are desperate to be part of the program, and they are included in our life skills workshops where basic skills and values are taught. Families are also given advice to access social grants, counselling given where necessary, and impoverished families, which have been identified, will be provided with food parcels and clothing. And one of the spin-offs of our program has been career opportunities being opened up to youngsters who've gone through the program, and they've been able to find employment using the dog handling skills that they've acquired. So those are some of our youngsters. We've had somebody, Voyo, has gone on to be an explosive detection dog handler. We've got a couple of youngsters working in local dog grooming parlors. And we have Sandili on the side there, who's working at one of the big veterinary practices as a veterinary assistant and is currently studying for his animal health technician qualification. So how do we make a difference? We make a difference by changing attitudes towards animals from an early age. As was mentioned in one of the earlier presentations, we need to get to the children when they are still young and impressionable. We do that by nurturing compassion and respect for animals, because when the children develop a bond with their dogs, that innate compassion and respect comes to the fore. And the other very important aspect of our program, which is particularly relevant to South Africa, which is has a very violent society, is that we are instilling a non-violent approach to life. Because if you can train a dog without compulsion and coercion, you can translate that to your broader interactions with people as well. And so we are nurturing future role models who become agents of change, and we are reaching the broader community. And we take a one welfare approach by improving both human well-being and improving animal welfare. And what we've seen is that we are having a generational and societal change, which is occurring with this holistic approach. By working with the community, we're now seeing that according to our survey we did earlier in the year, that 43% of the Mpopomeni population consider their dogs as companion animals, many of which are now actually allowed to sleep indoors, which is not common practice in these kind of communities. And that compares to the 3% of similar communities, and that figure came out of a 2005 study which was done by a PhD student across our province. So we believe we are making a big impact in that regard. We also have found, according to our survey, that 63% of the dogs in this community are now sterilized. So we can change behavior by building relationships. So we're building relationships with the community, with the dog owner themselves, and by the children developing a relationship with their dogs. And by recognizing the interrelationship between animal and human welfare, we can do so much more. Because when we work with dogs, we need to understand that people live with dogs. And so in order to address the needs of the dogs, we first have to work with the people. And this quote underpins the Funda Nenja approach. We believe that you can never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Thank you.